Hi everyone, Aaron here for Zollotech, and yesterday Apple released watchOS 26.2.1 to the public. watchOS 26.2.1 is available around the world at the same time for everyone on all watchOS 26 supported devices. Now, if you're on watchOS 26.3 betas, you won't have this update as you're on a newer version, so you'll have to wait till the public version comes out in order to stay on the public track. However, you won't be able to downgrade to this version unless you brought it to Apple. Now, if you installed this update, it was 4.7 gigabytes for me on my Apple Watch Ultra 3. It took forever to install, and one way you can actually speed that up is turn off Bluetooth on the watch. So start the update on the watch, then go into your settings. So scroll down to settings or find settings wherever it is for you. Then scroll to where you have Bluetooth. Within Bluetooth, scroll to the bottom and then turn off Bluetooth. It will then use Wi-Fi to install it and take far less time to install compared to if you were using Bluetooth, transferring directly from the phone. Now, this was released alongside many other updates, not just this update, but iOS 26.2.1, iPadOS 26.2.1, as well as updates with iOS 26.3 Beta 3, and all the Beta 3 updates for Apple TV, HomePod, watchOS, as well as visionOS and others. So all of those are available now. Many updates came out yesterday. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the build number and talk about what's new. So again, we'll go back into settings here. So within settings, if we go down to general here, then go to about, you can see the build number is 23S314. This just lets you know you're on the latest version. And as far as new features, well, this update contains one major change, and that has to do with the new AirTags that were announced. So at the same time, or earlier in the day, Apple introduced new AirTags 2nd generation. AirTags 2nd generation have new features such as precision finding updates with a longer Bluetooth range and a louder speaker. And if we scroll down here, you'll see that we now have precision finding for AirTags 2 or 2nd generation with Apple Watch. We can locate them with the watch using directions. So this is something that guides you through haptic, visual, and audio feedback to find your lost item from up to 50% farther than previous generations. Now this time around it should work on the watch. However, unfortunately, if we try and use it maybe with the current AirTag or AirPods or something else, it won't find them. So if we go back in here, and if we went to maybe find devices, for example, and we can get directions, but we can't use the precision finding. So Apple has not added that except for the new AirTag. I would love to see it added for everything since it's technically sort of the same thing with the ultra wideband 2.0 chip, but this is something we can't do except for AirTags 2. So I'll make a separate video if I get my hands on those. We'll try it out on the phone and the watch as well. Apple also introduced a new Apple Watch band for Black Unity. They do this every single year. You'll see it says Apple unveils the new Black Unity Apple Watch band. A special edition braided solo loop celebrates the power of connection. You can see it here. It's available for $99. You can order it now. And this is something we get every year, but typically we do get new watch faces as well as new wallpapers, but they haven't introduced that this year. So you can use the old one, but again, there's no new wallpapers or watch faces to go along with it this time around. The same is true with the beta of watchOS 26.3 Beta 3. There's no new watch face, so I think they may be skipping it this year. We just don't know. Now, as far as bugs and bug fixes, well, Apple hasn't mentioned anything specifically. In fact, if we go to Apple's release notes here, it just says the update provides support for AirTags 2nd generation along with bug fixes. But again, they haven't mentioned anything specifically, so we don't know if anything's been fixed that we've been experiencing. But for example, if we go to Apple's public-facing release notes, this is their public-facing site with all of the current releases, and you can see if we keep scrolling down, watchOS 26.2.1. If we go to view the release notes, there's nothing new here. In fact, if we refresh, it just says watchOS 26.2. However, the 26.2.1 notes say there's no new updates or anything else. So there's definitely bug fixes in it, but they haven't specified what they are. When it comes to security releases, if we take a look at Apple's security release website and scroll down, again, you'll see all of the current releases. And if we scroll down to watchOS here, you'll see watchOS 26.2.1 says this update has no published CVE entries. That doesn't mean there's no security updates in the background. There's just nothing to share at this time. So at this point, it looks like they haven't done a whole lot other than the AirTag support and hopefully some additional bug fixes. But again, we don't know what those are, and Apple really needs to start updating their notes a little bit better to make it clear what they've resolved, as sometimes they'll update support documents, but not their notes, even though they've fixed something. So we'll have to wait and see and talk about it in the weekend follow-up video if anyone's noticed any major fixes here. When it comes to other releases, we're waiting for watchOS 26.3 as it's currently at beta 3. Based off of that, we could see beta 4 as soon as next week, or possibly a release candidate. But based on the current build numbers, it seems more likely to get a beta 4. But either way, we could expect the public release sometime maybe around the 9th or possibly the 16th. That's what we expect as far as releases with watchOS 26.3 and iOS 26.3. iOS 26.4 and other updates are expected to bring the new Siri 2.0 Apple Intelligence update, so we're waiting for that. But at this point, I wouldn't expect any major features until iOS 27 and watchOS 27 in June at WWDC, usually shown for the first time there, and then of course in beta throughout the summer and released in September. When it comes to if you should install watchOS 26.2.1, well, I would typically recommend it for bug fixes as well as support for new AirTags. There shouldn't be anything major here. And when it comes to the overall performance, so far it's been fast. It's only been out for a day, but if we go into things such as alarms, you'll see that it basically opens up nice and quick. Again, if we go into the App Store, we'll wait for it here. It takes a moment to load, of course. One thing I did notice that may be fixed is my app here in the middle, Lumi. I'll talk about the watch face in a moment. The app disappeared with watchOS 26.2. Now it's back with 26.2.1. It kept uninstalling itself for some reason. It seems like that's fixed this time around. But overall performance is great. If we go to noise, for example, which I don't open too often, but it's nice to have if something's very loud and you want to know about it, it gives real-time decibel readouts. And again, this shows you in real time, things are loading nice and fast. When it comes to battery life, well, it's been okay. Of course, it hasn't been off the charger too long, and there's still that stutter with the control center for some reason. They still haven't worked out those bugs, but battery life is decent. So far, it's getting me through a day, no problem, day and a half, really. And I've been using it more and more for different health activities, walking, monitoring things, and more. But again, if we take a look at settings and then take a look at battery, you'll see I'm currently at 100% capacity. Typically, the Apple Watch Ultras drop very slowly when it comes to that. And again, you'll see I'm typically getting through a day and a half without any issues. When I put it on the charger at night last night, even after installing the update, which it has to be on the charger, I found I was around 80% charged. So it's really getting me through the day. Again, it will take a few days to note as far as how long this will last, but I'll have to be using this regularly. And then, of course, I'll report back. But I use this all the time now. I didn't until I got some of the measurements from blood pressure and things like that, or hypertension. Now I'm working to reduce that. When it comes to the watch face I'm using, if we press and hold here, very laggy going into that, but after that it's typically fine. This is the modular watch face, and if we scroll over here, you can see the complications. I have the weather, the date, and then in the middle, I have an app called Lumi. This lets you know countdown to golden hour, one of the best times to take photo and video. You can, of course, change this to countdown to moon times, day overview, and many other things as well. I bought this a long time ago, and I've used it ever since. Then I have activity, the compass, and messages. So pretty simple setup, but that's what I'm using day to day typically. I've tried many others, and I just keep coming back to this watch face as I've used it for years. So that's everything with watchOS 26.2.1, a fairly minor update, but hopefully it brings more stability, and if you are having issues, I'd love to hear if they've been resolved for you. Of course, if you'd like to get your hands on this wallpaper, I'll link it in the description like I normally do, and if you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe, and if you enjoyed the video, please give it a like. As always, thanks for watching. This is Aaron. I'll see you next time.